Welcome back, JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone. All4seasonsgarages.com is the website. Little queen for you means the queen is on the line. She's in Grind City.
Mm-hmm.
Been there since game one of Memphis Golden State, which was a great opener to a series that it's going to be. I feel like these games are going to be close. Also feel like Memphis has to win tonight. That's how we welcome in Teresa Walker. How are you, Teresa?
I am good, and yeah, I kind of agree that this is a game two is a must win. Now, I will say that they were blown out in game one by the Timberwolves, and they managed to come back and win game two pretty well. They that was the one game that they kind of handled the Timberwolves very well. And guys, think about this: they had just kind of walked off. And maybe Ramon can talk about this. I mean, think about this. They finished up Game 6 in Minnesota late Friday night, and then they get on a plane on Saturday, and they're on a court tipping off at 2:30 on Sunday. Yes, this is a young team, and they played remarkably well. But maybe there was a little bit of tiredness from the quick switch and having to suddenly switch from a completely different opponent in Minnesota to Golden State because they played well. It was a 1-point loss, but there's definitely some areas of their game that they can get better on and maybe focus in on now that they've switched opponents that are pretty different in this postseason. So I'm really curious to see how this semifinal round can help like I said, one of the youngest teams in the NBA maybe grow up and take another step forward. 2015, the Golden State Warriors, they went on to win an NBA title that year after they kind of came together against a very veteran Memphis Grizzlies group. Now it's now the roles are turned. Now you've got Steph, Draymond Green. They've been together 10 years, and now it's a young Memphis group. And this is the kind of experience that can help mold a franchise. The Warriors had a couple of playoff trips before. This is just the second one for the Memphis Grizzlies with this group. So I'm really curious to see what happens tonight.
Yeah, the comparisons that I keep making for Memphis, if it goes deep, then it's the Cincinnati Bengals from this past year. But I always look at Oklahoma City with that Durant, Westbrook, Harden, like the year they really came on, but they were still a lower seed. Memphis is a higher seed than they were that year. They got bounced, but you knew they were coming. Like you were watching it before your eyes. You're like, yeah, this is kind of how it works in the NBA. You usually take smaller steps, but you take gradual moves. You go from an 8 seed to a 4 seed to a 2 seed to a 1 seed, and you're able to win. I feel like they're maybe even still a little bit ahead of schedule, but you can see the talent there. The one thing they got to stop doing, though, Teresa, is getting behind by double digits against good teams and having to fight back because the energy that you have to expend, this isn't Minnesota, who's not used to it either and can't hold a lead. This is a Golden State team that knows how to close you out. I mean, Memphis had their shot in game one, and Morant missed a shot, obviously, after Clay wasn't able to convert at the free throw line, but you're not going to succeed living like that for too long.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, think about that. Minnesota, they had been in the playoffs in 2018 and lost real quickly. Yeah, they're a young team, and Memphis was able to come back. 3 of their 4 wins were, there'd never been another team in NBA history that had posted even, more than one comeback from double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies did it 3 times against Minnesota, and you're absolutely right. They cannot do that against Golden State. Why? I'll just drop some names. Well, Jordan Poole, who's become the newest Splash brother, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. I mean, I'm sorry, but Stephen Curry, in 2015, I saw him just kind of grab hold of the series. It was game 4, and he knocked down a long 3 to end the third quarter. And at that point, you could just kind of see him grabbing Memphis's soul at that point, and grabbing hold of that series. And that's the thing. They've been there. They've done that. They've won championships. The Grizzlies are, their biggest accomplishment at this point is going from an 8 seed to a 2 seed and winning 1 playoff series, the first one since in 7 years. So it's been a long time for this franchise to have any postseason success. Warriors thrive on it. So, but here's the thing. Desmond Bane, who led them in scoring in the first round, he had a down game on Sunday. Dylan Brooks, maybe he needs to quit airmailing so many balls. Get a little closer, get some of the easier shots, get those to go. But they've got some guys who can absolutely play better. Golden State's bench outscored Memphis. That's another rarity. They out-rebounded Memphis. So the Grizzlies have some areas that they can absolutely improve and play better.
And that's where I was going to go with you. You spoke about Jordan Poole and his emergence amongst those veterans on this team. But Desmond Bane, I know we talk about Ja all the time. It's Ja when it comes down to it, and rightfully so. We should. But the role that he's playing, I think a lot of people give a lot of credit to him to say, well, if it wasn't for Bane, you'd be out of the game way worse than you actually were.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's the thing. Bane is a guy who gave them a chance to be close enough. It could have been way bigger deficits that they had no chances of climbing out of to win their, 4 of the last 5 in the last series. So, and he's the guy who carried them. And then he had a bad game on Sunday. Now he's officially on the injury report with a, sore lower back. He was getting treatment during the second half of game 1. So that probably affected his shooting, but, that's a guy that they need to step back up. And, that was the thing on Sunday. The two people who carried the team for Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr., the 4th overall pick in 2018, and then Ja, the number 2 pick in 2019. So their stars, their top players did what they needed to do. The thing that we had just seen with Memphis all season long that they didn't get as much of is the rest of the guys. This is a deep roster, and, usually they can get 6-7 guys into double figures, and that didn't happen Sunday.
Teresa, if there was ever a chance to get a split, it was this last game. Now, you got an ejected Draymond Green on top of him being mad a little bit about the ejection and the way that you think a veteran like himself is going to play. I ain't saying it's impossible for Memphis to win this game, but I feel like there's more stacked against them this game than it was the last game, considering they were without Draymond. Is that how you look at it, or it's still a toss-up, or Memphis should win this one?
Well, the last I saw, I haven't seen if the odds have changed, but I think Memphis is still the favorite to win this game tonight. And remember this, home court. That crowd's going to be juiced.
Yeah.
And, they've had a chance to, Taylor Jenkins and his coaching staff, they can make some adjustments. And, they were working on Monday to see what they need to do. And even though this is a young team, they do a really good job of making some adjustments. And they understand that the first area that they can improve on is rebounding. I mean, they were the top rebounding team in the regular season, and they got out-rebounded on Sunday. And that's something that they can fix easily, even if Steven Adams remains in the health and safety protocol. So, that's the thing. And you say this, in 2015, when the Grizzlies started at Golden State, they won game 2 on the road there with a Mike Conley whose face had just been busted in the previous series. So I'll just say this: that's why we tune in. But if their best chance to get a split here's the thing: Grizzlies got to win tonight.
Yeah, they do.
You go to San Francisco for game 3 on Saturday. This franchise has been swept 4 or 5 times in its history. Actually 5 times, and the last time was in 2016 by the Spurs. You don't even want to get close to thinking about going on the road down 0-2.
Yeah. How shocked were you that A.J. Brown was moved?
I was shocked, guys. I won't. We've been told by Mike Vrabel he'll be here as long as I'm head coach. But the week before when we talked to them, John Robinson said that he didn't foresee anything before the draft. So that kind of had me thinking something's up that we don't know about. And then, the trade goes down. When I saw the Schefter tweet, that was my first hint. And it's like, guys, it happened. And from there, it was a little bit of a stunning night. You just don't see teams giving up players like an A.J. Brown. Then you find out a little bit more. Guys, it feels like A.J. Brown wanted a chance to play with Jalen Hurts and get paid, and the Titans never had a chance really to negotiate in this whole situation. So and for the Titan fans who are still a little salty, guess what? Sometimes we've seen it a lot in the NBA, but, if a player refuses almost essentially to negotiate and be in the same ballpark, be in the ballpark they kind of told you that, you thought that they were going to be in to begin with, and you can't really get a deal done, the Titans made chicken salad out of a situation and got a replacement for A.J. Brown with that 18th pick. They made some chicken salad.
Yeah. Just looking at the business side of it, I know everybody loves AJ and what he could have been here, but just truthfully, was this just a better alternative to just go ahead and release him or go ahead and trade him away so that you can continue to balance out this cap they're up against, considering, there's a lot of guys that's got high cap hits, including Ryan Tannehill too.
Ramon, from everything I understand, they didn't get a chance to negotiate. The Titans,
really?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. From what I understand, they were told that AJ wasn't going to step foot on a field until he got a new deal. And then it's like, okay, they look at the comparables, they make an offer. They were told AJ Brown wanted to be around $25 million, and that's about what he got in Philadelphia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Titans put together a plan. They sent an offer, and when they get a counter, the offer that was sent to AJ Brown was around $40 million guaranteed. What they got back went the other direction. The guaranteed money was almost double of what the Titans offer. So instead of negotiating, usually you say, okay, we want to be here, and then when you get that first counter offer and it's over here, they weren't in the same ballpark. They were going the other way. Apparently running toward Philly.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me. Like, I've been kind of saying, like, it's almost as if they ran out of time. Like, did they wait too long to actually start talking to his agent, talking to AJ? Because I think every player feels that way, like, especially at that position at wide receiver. I'm not going out until I get a deal done. But then you look at also the circumstances of it all, this situation in general, Teresa. You say, well, they only pick at 26 and then 90. That's a hard pill to swallow when I got to pay this guy potentially over $20 million too. So I guess I'm just confused on the fact that they didn't really negotiate.
Again, Ramon, you've got to be in the same ballpark to try to negotiate. I mean, we were told, and I do believe they wanted A.J. Brown here. But, and you talk about that maybe running out of time. Well, again, to have negotiated from where that counter seems to have come in from.
Yeah.
I don't know how you bridge that gap.
Yeah.
We know what A.J. Brown told Teron Davenport, that the number was around 16. Well, that's not, the number that was sent to his side was around 20 million. And they, guess what? If they come back 25, which is what they were kind of told he wanted to be in, you can get to the middle there.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can bridge 20 to 25.
Yeah, you can.
Maybe 22, 20. Yes. And that's the thing. When the number comes in and it's so far the other way and there's a trade request, how do you at some point when somebody wants to go, and they're not really negotiating, again, they didn't really get the chance to negotiate the situation. Did time play into this a little bit? Maybe, but, AJ wasn't talking to anybody over at the team, not even his position coach.
Wow.
That's it just feels like A.J. Brown wanted to – I mean, and the Eagles GM said that Jalen Hurts had been in his ear, wanting to get A.J. Brown. So, it seems like this, something more had been going on, maybe outside of the Titans' purview for a while.
Did the Titans misjudge AJ's commitment to the organization, to the team? I mean, the fans – when we gave the scenarios under which AJ could be moved, the fans didn't like it very much. And they suggested, he loves Tennessee. Look at him. He's going to be here for life and all this stuff. And fans are always going to say that. But do you think that the team felt like there was more of a commitment from AJ and maybe they got caught at least a little bit off guard when Torrey Dandy said, no, this is what we're looking for, and AJ cut off communication? Like they didn't see that coming from this guy. I think Vrabel in particular, I don't think necessarily saw this coming.
Well, that's a fair point, because what we know is Mike Vrabel and John Robinson at the owners' meetings at the end of March were, he's going to be here. Yeah. And then April 18th, the off-season program starts, and AJ wasn't here. And somewhere between that period, it seems like the request came in that he's not going to step on a field without a new deal. And it went really quickly from not stepping on a field to no deal to I want to be traded. And, here's the thing. Commitment to Tennessee, in the end, it's about getting paid.
Yeah.
the Tennessee Titans have made moves over the 25 years that they've been here when they needed to move on. I remember when Steve McNair was not allowed to step foot into the building in 2006 because they were afraid he'd drop a weight on his foot, and he counted a quarter of the cap. They moved on from Steve McNair because it was the only business move they could make at that time. And this time it was A.J. Brown and his agent, finding the deal that they wanted at the money they wanted in a place he wanted to be.
Jason brought up this comparison yesterday, and we didn't realize they were basically flying the same path.
Yeah, the name it's just started coming in my mind over and over again over the weekend. And before I even looked at the stats, Alshon Jeffrey, Teresa, is another SEC guy who had a great first couple of years. He's a Pro Bowler in his second year. It turned out to be the only time that he made it. AJ was a Pro Bowler in his second year. Receiver that was seen highly. When you looked at it, Alshon had a few more yards early. He ended up getting traded to Philadelphia also. He ended up being retired in 2020 after that second deal. But they're similar. It's just kind of look at them because they both also chased their health their whole career. The other thing about AJ that we have not discussed is, how are the medicals? Obviously, they were good enough for Philadelphia to take on this deal, but I remember listening to a podcast with Tehran a couple years ago with a medical professional, went through every single Titans injury and washed them all away and said, all these are going to be fine. A.J. Brown's got degenerative knees. He's going to have a shorter career than everybody thinks. Do you think the medicals play a role here in the Titans saying committing to this guy maybe is not our best move?
I don't think that played a part of this because the deal that he got in Philly is 4 years. And even with bad knees, and knees getting worse, you would think that you could get 4 years out of AJ, or at least get 3 years out of him, right? So I don't think that played a part in that at all. They were willing to pay him. That's the thing. They were willing to negotiate. They wanted to negotiate. They wanted to get a deal done. But again, when somebody, I don't know about either of you guys, but if somebody tells you, I'm going to give you this for the car, and you go to the bank, you get your money, and then they say, you get there, and all of a sudden they've hiked the price up, it's like, wait a minute. And then they drive the car off and say, I'm not going to talk to you about it. Again, it's just the Titans wanted to keep A.J. Brown, but it got to a point where they could not get a deal done. And that's what it came down to. I don't think the knees or any of that came into play because he is still a very young player. Now, we'll watch what happens in Philly because, let's face it, Ryan Tannehill is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts in the NFL. But now A.J. Brown's going to be, he's going to be lining up with Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. And, I'll just say this, for a young man who's deleted a lot of things on social media, Philadelphia is much worse. I mean, they're the ones who, booed Santa Claus and things like that. So that's a rough crowd. It's a much rougher crowd than Tennessee. So sometimes be careful what you ask for.
And also Alshon Jeffrey's agent,
Tory Dandy, yeah.
Which is AJ's agent also.
Yeah, it's amazing how Tory Dandy has the wide receiver market cornered. He's not Traylon Burks' agent, though, Teresa. At least not yet. If that happens, I need you to file an article immediately with the AP that all of a sudden we're on the watch for Traylon Burks to end up in the NFC.
Put out a news alert, agent change, Traylon Burks. So.
Yes, we do.
It seems to matter. Teresa, enjoy game 2. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.